Welcome back to another episode of A Minute with Mom podcast. I am your host, Tamara Johnson. And as you can see, I have a familiar face back in the studio with me today. Hi, Craig.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. You look like you are well moisturized. Did you put your
I know
moisturizer on this morning?
it's sweat.
Oh,
It's sweat.
you're glowing. I'm glowing too. It was hot today.
Well, you know what? Down here in SoCal, down here in Carlsbad, we don't get hot, thank God, a whole lot.
Yeah,
But my youngest was actually cleaning up his room,
got
and
it.
it was a lot of parenting
Moving
and dad time
around.
to help
Yes.
him move the bed, slide it around, shift,
Yes.
push stuff out from under the bed. He shared that room with his brother that just one of his brothers that just went to college.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the sad part. He spent a lot of time cleaning that room, moved the bed forward, swept, and actually brought trash because I actually witnessed it.
Mm-hmm.
Trash day had already come and gone. Since
Ouch.
Jackson's been working by himself in the same room, getting the stuff out from under the bed that Evan chose not to do because he thought it was Jackson's stuff,
Oh,
Jackson has taken a complete can and a half of those curbside machine come dumpster pickup machines just with the stuff that was under the bed and remaining.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't want to know.
No. Well, here's
I
the
don't want
now.
to know.
Well, here's a funny part to know though, because I was kind of shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson actually ran back and forth to when I was actually in a different call prior to this. He actually found $150. Yeah, in that
How
room.
in the world?
Well, it was actually more than that. We actually had another gift card that I had to throw away because it had actually expired.
Oh my gosh.
Because some of the gift cards that you buy, so people,
Yeah.
if you have a gift card, don't buy the ones that expire. And it won't expire is one thing, but this one expired to the point where the bank started charging unused late, and that sucked up all the money. So it didn't become unusable until they took all the fees because you weren't
Yes.
using it. And it doesn't cost them nothing.
Why do I feel like there's a sermon there?
Yes. So we've
Oh my
given away.
gosh.
I've got the card.
Listen, that's a whole word. That will preach somewhere because how often God gives us gifts.
Gifts
Do you see
that
where
we
I'm
don't
going with
use.
this?
Yes, ma'am.
God gives us gifts.
Yeah.
And he even went as far as to say, your gift will make room for you.
Room for you.
But you have to use that which was given.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's ineffective.
Yeah.
My God, on today.
And you miss out on the blessing. And
Yes, that's a
here's a
word for somebody. Yeah.
that gift was given to Jackson in 2020 during the pandemic. And it says 2024.
Yeah.
4 years later, the card has gone unused since late
Hmm.
23, late 22.
Oh, my goodness.
And there's nothing they can do. I'm sorry, had the fees not been taking all your money, we could have given you what was left. But our fees have sucked up your balance.
And
Yeah.
it has cost you.
Ooh, yeah, that part.
Okay. See, why do I feel like we're about to change our whole topic just off of that
But I think
opening?
it fits though.
It
Because as
fits.
parents, right? And we take this whole romanticization off of our parental people. And I know that I think it's a slightly different shift from that topic, right?
Yeah.
But as parents, we've got to be able to teach these lessons to not just ourselves, but to our children. So if our
Yeah.
children can learn these kind of valuable lessons at their young ages, that gives them a shot at being able to practice them for 60, 70, 80, 90 plus years
Yeah.
versus some of us who don't learn them until we're 50, 60, 70,
Right.
and we get a
Right.
few years of using them.
Yes. And
I'm
you're
good.
right. It ties into our topic today, which is being the parent that your child needs. And so if we're doing that, we're in our strategy meeting, we talked about not the one that we had on recording day for the last video, but the previous one. You mentioned something about your dad. You were telling me a story about when your wife passed and your dad had made a promise to you in the hallway
Yeah.
that, son, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going
Mhm.
to help you navigate grief. I've been down this road. I'm going to be there for you. And then he didn't.
Yep.
And the words that you said were to the effect of withholding information.
Oh yeah. It is. It is a
And so this
terrible.
is what we're talking about, being the parent that your child needs. You have information that your child needs. It's
Yeah.
your job as a parent to provide the information, and then it's their job. They get to decide whether they want to keep it or not,
I'll chuck it.
use the gift card or not use the gift card. So it does tie in.
Yeah. And I love it because even when working with Jackson in that room today, because it was a mess in its cleanest state.
Hmm.
Imagine what it looked like when they were both living there for all of these years, and even when they would clean the room and it looked clean, under the bed we're still holding this madness. And
Yeah.
so Jackson said he was sweeping, and I was actually pushing stuff with the broom out through to the other side so he could grab it because he couldn't reach and get it. He didn't want to get on the floor because they're still working and dirty.
Right.
That kid pulled out, you know, those little silverfish bugs.
Hmm.
Several, he said, were under the bed. In the
Mm.
stuff that was under the bed.
Mm.
So I'm thinking, even as we're talking, we leave our junk behind and it festers. And we're
Yeah.
so easy sometimes to be able to think, oh, I'll just leave my junk there and I'll live on top of it
Yes.
because it's
Ooh.
okay, without wanting to make change because the junk is I just don't want to deal with my own mess. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But when you start cleaning it, so that he says, Dad, it's okay. It's a little frustrating right now, but it's well worth the effort because I'll have at least 2 years to live in this place by myself, and it'll be
Mm.
just the way I want it, and it'll be clean.
Mm.
And I was
Yes.
like, wow. And
My
he's the
God.
first one. Actually, he actually got his open free room before Evan did because Evan's still sharing in a dormitory with two other
Yeah.
guys.
Wow. I tell you, lessons upon lessons upon, there's so much to unpack in that story, which thank you for sharing.
No worries.
Um, because I think what struck me the most, what you just said, is the living on top of your junk.
Yeah.
And in the theme of what we're talking about in making peace with your parents and now being the parent that your child needs, how many of us as parents have unresolved traumas,
Mhm.
unresolved junk
Yep.
from our
Yep.
childhood that we've been living on top of? But
Mhm.
it's always just beneath the surface.
Yes.
And then we
Yes.
have these beautiful babies that are mirrors, images of us in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
And they unknowingly pluck a nerve.
Yep.
And then we're popping off at the child
Yep.
because a nerve has been struck. The child doesn't know that they've hit a nerve.
Yep.
And a lot of times the parents don't even know that the nerve was even there because you've gotten accustomed to living on top of your junk.
Yeah.
And it really takes you sitting with yourself
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
really being courageous enough to say, you know what is under the bed?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
proverbial bed. What's under there? What's just beneath the surface? What's lying beneath the surface that gets you so irritated and agitated when your child does X or when your child says X? It sends you off into the stratosphere of, do you know who I am? You go right back into the I am MOTHER period. So if you didn't watch part one, I would suggest that you watch part one before continuing with this video so you can understand the references that we are making. But being the parent that your child needs requires for you to deal with your junk.
Yeah.
If you want to give your child the, what's the word, the advantage, not necessarily the upper hand, but
Yeah.
if you want to break a cycle, let's put it that way. If
Yeah.
you notice that you have generational dysfunction going on in your family
Yeah.
or within yourself, and you
Yeah.
want to break that cycle, it requires that you pull the bed, the, what is that thing called, the dust ruffle.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
might be dating myself again, but back in the day, we used dust ruffles. I don't know if they use those anymore, but it's the thing that you put around the box spring of your bed so that you can't sleep under the
Correct.
bed,
Correct.
right? And
Yep.
I was notorious for shoving everything under my bed, and it was the perfect size.
Sure.
And you just shove it in there a little bit,
Yeah.
and the room looks like it's perfect. But
Perfect.
we live life that way, don't we, Craig?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We don't want to deal with our junk because our junk is
Yeah,
messy. Our junk hurts. It's a lot of work to dig that stuff out of there. And I mean, think about it, right? There's so many people out there that live junky lives, publicly and privately. They don't deal with theirs, so why should we deal with ours? Who
right.
cares? But we got to
Yeah.
deal with it because, like you mentioned, it's going to come back. It's going to bite us, and it's going to do something to hinder us long term, and that's never good.
And what gifts are you burying up underneath all of that? So you're dealing with physical junk, and then you found a physical gift that you could no longer use.
Right?
But think about, from a spiritual point of view, from a mental and emotional point of view.
Sure.
If we come into this earth with certain giftings and abilities that God has given us, but we have so much junk of life that's kind of just packing down and compressing all of
Yep.
those gifts.
Yep.
And then you often find yourself on a path of like, one of the things that my mom always used to say was, I don't know how I ended up here.
Mm,
How did I get here? This is not how my life was supposed to be. That was probably one of her major regrets at the end of her life, that
yeah.
she would often say is, this is not what I had planned for my life. My
Yeah.
father did the same thing. This is not how I imagined my life going. But two things that I noticed, well, not two things, one thing for each parent that I noticed with both of them, they had a lot of mental and emotional junk that they were unwilling to clean out. And so every time that they would move forward with trying to recreate or reinvent their life, it would
Mhm.
never go wrong because you keep compacting
Mm,
stuff upon stuff upon stuff, and then it bleeds out.
yeah.
So even if you're trying to conceal, eventually, like hot garbage,
Is
I'm
that
going there. I'm
garbage?
going there. Like hot garbage, you start stinking. There's a stench in the room.
Mm,
There's a stench in the room.
yeah.
And there's no amount of Febreze that can cover that up.
Mm.
What does it
And
look like in real
who's
time? It looks like an angry parent.
yeah.
It looks like an emotionally unavailable parent. It
Right.
looks like an absentee parent. And by absent, you can be present and absent at the same time, and you can just be gone too. So
Yeah.
it's all of those things. It looks like a parent that you walk on eggshells around because you can never seem to say the right thing. Everything sets them off. So you're kind of timid of really saying how you really feel because you know it's going to be an argument.
Right.
It's the unapproachable parent. It's the tired parent that you're so tired. It's like, I can't. So you kind of checked out and you let everybody else do the job of parenting in your community that's around you. I'm
Yeah.
not taking pot shots. I'm speaking truth.
True. It's funny.
This is what happens when you, yes, what were you saying?
I was saying, I when you said it smelled like hot garbage, I remember Red Fox had a skit where he was coming somewhere and he had to pass gas so bad he wound up passing gas in the elevator,
Oh my
and he, all he could do was just feel like he was flying around in the elevator,
Yeah.
passing gas, and he just didn't want to leave it there. So he managed to run out real quick and got some spray.
Oh my
I don't know how,
gosh. Oh my.
it's a joke skit, so I don't know how you get it so fast. But he had a spray can with him, and he was spraying in the elevator. So when the next person
Oh
got
my.
on, he was like, "It smelled like Red Fox. It would have been poop in the
Yes.
flowery sense, and
Yes.
roses." And I'm saying, and that's the thing. We do things like that with hot garbage. You just want to spray something pretty over the top, but
Yeah.
it's still hot garbage.
It's still garbage.
Yeah,
I think the best advantage that we can give our children is to deal with our junk,
yeah,
is to unpack, sweep out the cobwebs, get up underneath there, pull the covers back, move the bed, move furniture around, turn your life upside down. If you're really serious about giving your child what they need, you will understand the pain that you had to endure in your upbringing, the dysfunction, the disappointments. There's an awareness that is created around that. So you can't see that you have garbage in the room and then not want to deal with it. At some point, you're going to be forced to deal with it, and you can either deal with it on your own accord
yeah,
and rip the lid off and say, okay, let me get my gloves, I'm going in, or
yeah,
life will do it for you.
yeah, yeah.
You
Facts.
don't want the latter. You
Yeah,
don't want that. That's not fun, because in the process of that, now you're risking broken relationships. You're risking your relationship with your child, your children.
yeah,
You're putting a lot of things at risk. And then you don't even understand the ramifications of how your junk impacts your child.
yeah, yeah. It leaves a bigger scar, as you're saying,
Yes.
to let it fester and fester. Like you and I have talked about that. I had a festering issue like that myself, and it's going to take a while for that to get handled, because if you
Yes.
let a wound go untreated, it gets deeper. It may not feel like it's on the surface, but it's going deep within the tissue. And sometimes you have to get cut to be able to clean that out, and you wind up
Right.
having more of an issue to heal, and it just prolongs the healing process. And
Yeah.
I'm not down for prolonging my healing process. I need to get it like done, like right now, be done. I'm good.
Yeah. So I think I want to share. I can almost hear someone saying, well, how do you go about doing that?
Mm,
Clearing out you, where do you start clearing out your junk?
sure.
So I'll share what worked for Dwayne and I, Dwayne, my husband. So when we were first getting married, we sat down and I thank God for community and
Hmm.
godly people in your life in different seasons. And so in this particular season, we were newlyweds. We did have marriage counseling, but marriage counseling is only going to address so much.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know until
So you don't know it.
in your face. And so you can do all the things in preparation for marriage, but nothing will teach you about marriage like being married. And so now we're married, and we're having continuation of that marriage counseling. And so we took all the couples classes because it was fun, and all the young couples, who the newlyweds, and we're all in there and whatever. And so the facilitators gave us a blank sheet of paper,
Mm,
and they said, here's your blank sheet of paper. And we're like, well, what we're supposed to do with this? And they're like, write your story. And I'm thinking, I already have my story.
yeah.
He already has his story.
Sure.
And they're like, no, rewrite your story, because you came into this marriage as Tamara and Dwayne, but now you are one. And so there needs to be an addendum. You can't keep the separate stories. You can certainly take certain things of your story and bring them in, but now you have to make a new story.
Yeah.
You have to rewrite your history, so to speak, but you're not rewriting it without God. You're taking that blank sheet of paper and you're saying, Lord, what do you want
Yeah.
for our life, for our marriage? What is it going to look like? What do you want for us? What do you not want for us? And so they asked us a couple of cursory questions like, what what did you like about your life before marriage, Tamara? And what didn't you like about your life before marriage? What would you like to bring into your marriage, and what is absolutely not coming in? Because y'all are both bringing some baggage from your
Yeah,
from your lived experiences. So what would you like to keep, and what would you like to throw away?
yeah. And some of them bags don't match.
Hello, you didn't get the couple set.
No, and then
She might be carrying Louis Vuitton, and you might be carrying Kroger.
I was getting ready to make a Louis joke because I'm a big Coach Prime, Deion Sanders type of guy. His baggage, he said, I'm bringing my luggage, and it's Louis. But like you
Yeah,
said, for some folks, their baggage is Kroger, plastic
they're
sack.
pulling up with Big Lots and Dollar General and Dollar Tree.
Yeah, yeah, facts.
And it's no shade. Your bag is what your bag is.
Go, go.
Because it's not really about the bag, it's what's in the bag, right?
Yep, yep.
Because how about this? You can have a Louis bag, but what's inside of it? Is it something worth keeping, or is it junk in your bag? That's the junk we're talking about. What's in
Yeah,
your bag? And you can have a Dollar Tree bag, and you can have something that is priceless in that Dollar Tree bag. So don't get twisted on what type of bag it is. It's the point is that we are all bringing baggage into the relationship. And so when you're talking about being the parent that your child needs, you kind of have to look at your own upbringing and see what parts of my upbringing do I want to pass down to my children, and what parts am I saying absolutely not, it stops with me.
I'm one of these things. That baggage I got is two little dogs that are running around below my feet, and one of them is refusing to come out, and I don't know why. She never does this, and
Because
so
she needs something.
yeah, and I think, and it's funny. I think she also is not understanding, even when we're cleaning out our junk. Sometimes the people around us, and maybe this is a message for us as well. Sometimes when we're
Mhm.
doing this work on ourselves, the people around us who are used to a certain routine are going to see a difference in us, and they're going to be a little unnerved. We're not going to be
Yeah.
as available, as to them as we used to be. We're not going to be as open and receptive to talk as we used to be. We're not going to be as, like a poem I wrote a few months ago. People are used to me being the me that they wanted me to be when they needed me to be the me that did what they needed me to be for free.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
not something that we need anymore. When we're trying to move forward, we're not going to be as available. If I've
No.
always said, if I was as available to myself as I have made myself available to other people, then I would be able to achieve everything I've ever wanted, because I've given everything to other people no matter what. But in
Yes.
this new part of my life, there's borders, there's boundaries, there's no has become a popular part of my vocabulary, and I'm unapologetic about the no, because the no is going to preserve our relationship, and the
Yes.
no is going to preserve my sanity, because I can't have a constant caregiver's mentality for everyone else. And me, when I need care, I don't have anything left to give it to me.
Yes.
So I got to give it to me first, and
Yes.
then my kids, and because I'm not in a marriage relationship right now for me. So when I get married again, then yeah, it'll be God, myself, my spouse, the kids. But until then, I got to get it right.
Yeah. And so what I hear you saying is part of being the parent that your child needs also includes you taking care of your needs, you taking care of yourself, you making sure that you get what you need. Because
Correct.
we're no good to our children if we are functioning on a deficit.
Right.
I'm not the best mommy when I all of my needs are not met. I'm cranky, I'm snippy, I'm snappy. They get the ugly version of me, and then that's when the enemy comes in. And remember, we talked last time about it's in our DNA, certain proclivities. We have a natural bent towards
Yeah.
being a certain way that we've inherited from our parents, right? So when Tamara has not gotten her rest, when Tamara has not spent time with the Lord, when Tamara has not spent time with her husband, and I need that part of my love tank is empty. When I haven't spent time with just myself doing the things that I like to do, which for me it's very simple. I like being with myself
Sure.
because I think I spent so much time alone growing up
Mm,
waiting for my mom to come home from work and there not being any supervision. So I can go either way because I know what it's like to live in a full house, but I also know what it's like to come home and it's just me at home for
sure.
hours until my mom gets home. And I learned how to be my own company. I learned how to laugh with myself. I learned one time, I'm going to tell you this story real quick.
Mm,
One time I was in high school. I might have been in early college or a senior or something like that. But I was coming out of late teens and heading into the um young adult era, right?
sure.
And I was getting ready to go to work. I worked at Checkers. I had Checkers. If you live on the East Coast, you know what Checkers is. You've seen Checkers French fries in
Fries.
Walmart. I
Yeah.
worked at the actual joint. So I was
Mm,
slinging fries and burgers and all kind
mm,
and it was good, okay? Like
yeah.
a champ with cheese, a Checkers champ with cheese. Um,
Yeah.
get your whole
Make mine
life,
make mine
okay?
a double, please.
Right. And then they had the little apple nuggets. They were like little baby little apple pies, but they looked like chicken nuggets,
Ooh.
but it was apple pie. Get your whole life. Okay. Anyway, I digress. I am getting ready to go to work. I'm at this point, I'm riding a bus, so I have to make sure I catch my bus.
Yeah.
Other because I could not take that walk. So I'm running through the house with my socks on. I lived in South Florida at the time, which predominantly every house in South Florida has porcelain tile, the
Ooh.
shiny porcelain tile,
Slick shiny.
slick, shiny, the kind where to clean it, you use hot water and vinegar. And my mama's house was very clean. So you see where I'm going with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we had a sunken living room. So it's a living room, but it kind of steps down just about that much, right?
Oh, slick floor. You can slip right down on there. Mm-hmm.
I'm running to my room to get something real quick. And I don't know. It's like the devil kicked my foot right out under me. And I said, shh. And I literally saw my feet in the air, and then I landed half in the sunken living room and half on the tile. And I was bewildered. I was absolutely beside myself of what in the world just happened? Like, what in the world? And so I sit up and
Yeah.
it's like on instinct. I look around to see who saw,
It's
and
all.
not because I forgot. There's nobody home. It's just me. It's just me. And I'm so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed by myself. So, what I'm talking about, I learned how to laugh at myself and be okay with me and myself. And I had a good old, like I was rolling on the carpet laughing at the fact that I had fell. I had fallen. I didn't know how I fell.
Yeah.
Then it was funny to me that I looked around to see if anybody saw that I fell. And then I remembered you're by yourself, silly.
Yep.
Nobody saw that. And then I'm laughing again, like a literally like 5 to 7 minutes of me just
Just laughing.
dying laughing on the carpet. But that gave me energy for the day
Yeah.
because I was able to get up and yes, it hurt. I don't I my tailbone was hurting. I was okay, but like, oh my gosh, Tamara, I can't believe you did that. And even now to this day, when I remember that moment, I always smile, I giggle, I chuckle because I'm like, how in the world, girl, did you end up on the floor like that? And I'm pretty sure I had socks on. So I'm guessing the floor was well mopped.
Sure.
and polished. And I just, yes. And the other day I fell down the stairs last year.
In your
In
house right
my
now?
listen,
Oh my gosh.
I am accident prone.
Oof.
I know it seems like we've taken a tangent and we haven't really. This is good for you people who are codependent. This is what we mean when we say learn to be okay with being with you,
Yeah.
being within your body and taking up space within your body. I'm not just telling these stories to have kicks and giggles. There's a method to my madness. Just stick with me for a little while. I'm coming down the stairs in my fuzzy slippers, and you ladies know the fuzzy slippers that I'm talking about. They're all over Amazon, okay? And mine were leopard print because me and leopard print go back like, peanut butter
Cadillacs.
and jelly. Okay?
Mm.
And so here I am coming all cute down the steps. And I feel like the leopard slippers had it out for me. I don't know why. I just do. And the next thing you know, my foot slipped to the side of the slipper. And next thing you know, here we go. We are sailing down a flight of stairs.
Mm.
And I'm holding on to the railing, trying not to like go head over toe down the stairs because I felt like that's where we were going. So
Keep
I'm
going.
trying to put my back towards the wall that had the railing so that I don't do that. And I end up landing on one hip. And I was immediately swollen, like immediately. So of course my family hears the commotion of the you know
Mm.
I
Yeah.
must have
Oh
I
Lord.
must have fell or something. And literally the
Lillian.
whole entire family is in the stairwell and they're like, Mommy, what happened? I'm just sitting on the stairs like, I don't know. I said my slippers tried to kill me.
Oh my gosh. We got me the Eddie Murphy skit here. Falling down the stairs.
Listen, I pray. I stood up and my hip looked like one of the Kardashians.
No.
I said, "Oh my God, I'm lopsided." Yeah. I said, "I look like the Kardashians, but only on one side."
Oh, wow. She said Kardashian.
I sure did.
A lot of surgery
And I
there.
meant all the shade. Yes, I did. I was like, "Oh my God." Now this, because I don't really have hips. So I was like,
Mm.
"Oh, this is what it feels like to have." But it hurt though. It hurt.
Oh my gosh.
Once again, in true Tamara form, these are the quirks about me that make me fall in love with me,
Right.
that make me okay with me, that I can know that I am accident prone.
Yeah.
I've been this way my entire life. I have many stories that I could tell you, but we don't got time for that. But I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I find the humor in it because what am I going to do? Like I'm not going to sit there like I could have cried, sure. My second daughter probably would have busted out in tears
Yeah.
if it was her because that's
Sure.
her personality. That's how she expresses. But a lot of times I find myself laughing at some of the more painful things that I have experienced in life because I rather laugh than cry about it because sometimes I feel like I won't stop crying.
Yeah.
And so it's easier for me to find the humor, but learning how to be okay within myself, it took
Yeah.
years for me to get to that point
Yeah.
because normally I would have been so embarrassed. I would have felt, and not to say that if I fell in front of people now, I wouldn't be embarrassed. I'm going to be embarrassed, but I'm also going to make a joke about it
Yeah.
because my philosophy was like, oh no, I'll get me before you can get me. Like, I will take the shot at me before you take, trust and believe.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let you take a shot at me. I'll do it myself. You know what I mean? But
Right.
that's kind of like a self-preservation
Sure.
tactic that
Sure.
works for me. It may not work for other people, but it certainly works for me and I'm good at it. Um So just things like that, knowing who you are as an individual,
Yeah.
knowing yourself so well that you can accept that that is who you are, but also knowing yourself enough to know what needs to be changed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you and I both have our not so sweet sides.
No, not me. I'm good. I'm perfect.
Don't even act.
I'm perfect. It's my wait a minute. I
Don't
can see in
even
the
act.
camera my handle's a
And I have
little.
heard it. I have heard it, and you have heard mine. Like the Sour Patch Kids, we sweet and sour at the same time.
At the same time. Yeah.
Catch
Yeah.
me on a bad day.
Yeah.
You guys think that I'm like this all the time? I'm not. I can be a miserable somebody sometimes.
Yeah.
I can be sour,
Yeah.
right? And so that's when I have to get real about my stuff. And
Sure.
it's even more so like when my daughters call it out in me.
Yeah.
Have your sons called you out on your crap?
They don't normally, even though they gave me a hard time when I went back to school. They gave me a
Mm-hmm.
real hard time. So they did. Like right into my first day, they were like, everything I would tell them to do. Oh, make sure you do your video journal. Make sure you do your log. Make sure you pack your lunch. I was like, really? That's what we're doing right now? Really? I mean, that all of that. Oh yeah, and they were
Yeah,
laughing.
yeah. It's they take pleasure in handing back to you what you've been dishing out to them. I know all of my children.
Yeah.
They delight in
Season.
giving me back my junk.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's humbling.
Yeah.
Because how about when they give you back your junk during an argument, during a heated conversation?
Yeah.
They slap you with the slap back that was originally intended for them, but it's your words
Yeah.
and it applies
To you at that moment.
to you in that moment.
Yeah.
That's a very humbling.
Yeah.
I've been on the receiving end of that many, many, many times. And the only thing that I could do is just say, you're right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
But I think that's healthy
Yeah.
for them because I couldn't have that conversation with my mom.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I couldn't have that kind of conversation with any of my elders back when in my day.
Yeah.
You're seen and not heard. It's do as I say, not as I do. It is who do you think you're talking to?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
give my children the space and the room to be able to, I open up the floor for that kind of dialogue. As long as they're respectful with it,
Sure.
I've learned to be okay with it because sometimes I am doing something that I didn't realize was actually hurting them.
Sure. Sure. But the topic of the show, right, is to be the parent that your child needs. And I think in
Yes.
a lot of ways that allows us to be the parent that we needed. Because we all needed a parent that was going to be there when we needed them. We just need to also know what does that need look like to our kids. Because like with
Right.
Jackson, he wanted more of my time. He wants a relationship similar to maybe like one of his other brothers have with me. To me, all the relationships are different because they have to be. And so, but I have to also not be like my parents and just be stuck with what status quo was. I got to be able to, like we talked about last week, shift. And when we
Yes.
shift, it'll be better. It may not be comfortable right away. And in some cases, it may not even feel authentic right away. But the more we practice and lean into it, we'll get it because it's worth it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, moving on in our topic of discussion, you mentioned something else in our strategy session. You
Hmm.
mentioned forgiving yourself for not being what they need. I'm gonna
Yeah.
let you take that because I've talked enough. I'm gonna let you tackle that one.
Oof. So that was even when I was dealing with Jackson. Real life example. That kid has shared a room basically since birth until this day, this recording day. So by the time this airs, he may have been in his room a week, depending on the air date. And he's 16 now. And I know there's a
Wow.
lot of people out there that have never had their own room, and they've had to share 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 people, and that's just the way it is. But in our particular house, when he shared with a sibling who initially they were thick as thieves, but they became two sides of the different, I don't know, say posture or group. They could hardly stand each other.
Mm.
And I find it to be interesting because when Jackson left out of the house on Friday to go to class to his high school, that was Evan's last day at the house before I dropped him off at college. These kids barely talked to each other civilly. Evan
Mm.
had the nerve to be mad because Jackson didn't wake him up on his way to school. He's
Wow.
like, he doesn't, you don't, no one else see him again. And he didn't even say bye. Well, it's
Mm.
like, but you were asleep, right? Well, yeah. But the other brothers woke me up. But I reminded him, I was like, and I shared the same thing with Jackson. Jackson was like, why was he mad? He barely said anything nice to me. I didn't know he wanted to.
Mm.
When I left, when Ryan was leaving, Ryan told me the night before, wake me up before you leave so I can say,
Mm-hmm.
see you later, say bye.
Mm-hmm.
Evan didn't say anything. So I didn't. So I
Right.
didn't say anything. In dealing with parents and dealing in this way, dealing with our children, dealing with ourselves, we're going to miss something when it's gone. Evan is already missing his family now that we're gone, and we're just 22 minutes away.
Wow.
Imagine if that was someone who actually passed away, that you didn't resolve that relationship with them that you always wanted to get what
Mm.
you always needed from them, but you didn't want to open your mouth and say nothing because you
Right.
didn't want to deal with the junk that was just below the surface.
Mm.
So we really have to ask ourselves, what is it really worth to us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is our peace of mind, is our sanity, is our joy, is our laughter, is our happiness, isn't it worth it? And I think we all would say yes, but I think really where it boils down to is so many of us don't think that we are worth it.
Yeah.
I used to spend a lot of time doing so many things for other people because I wanted them to be great because I thought that they were great. I
Yeah.
didn't have that thought about me. I didn't
Mm.
have anything good to say about me.
Wow.
And until we get that point where we really understand that we're worth it, that we're better, we're just as good as the next person, and that we need to be healthy, like you mentioned, for our family, for our bloodline, for our children's children to be healthy,
Mm-hmm.
we're never going to be better for it.
Yeah. But we do that with God too.
Yeah.
We will pray a prayer for Sister Susie
Yep.
and Brother Joe. We will pray the house down.
Down.
Blessings upon blessings upon blessings for Sister Susie and Brother Joe.
Hmm.
But then we will not dare ask God for ourselves.
Well, we don't believe for ourselves,
Right.
right? We won't.
Yeah.
We won't part our own lips for a prayer for ourselves. But to your point,
Yes.
we'll like to pray the house down for someone
Mm-hmm.
else because we believe for someone else. And
Yeah.
I think we talked about in the last episode. My prayer was, I asked God, what's the deal? Is there something wrong with my belief or my faith? Is there something wrong with me? And what I believed my answer was that there's nothing wrong with my ability to believe because I believe that it's not going to happen. The problem is that what am I believing in? So
Mm-hmm.
I have to believe that the Lord is going to do for me because I'm worth it, because he loves me enough to do it.
Right.
And stop believing that it's not going to happen because I don't believe it.
Yeah.
So the Lord only hears those sincere requests from us anyway. He doesn't hear fear. He doesn't
Right.
see it. So if
Yeah.
all of our requests to God for ourselves are fear based, no wonder why God never answers my prayer. Well, he ever heard him.
Right. Who was it that said, "Help my unbelief," when they were talking to Jesus?
Yeah, that
And I
was
think
actually
that
a
prayer,
soldier. That was the soldier who wanted his son to be healed. He brought his
yes,
son to the disciple,
yes.
heal my
And
son.
Jesus said to him, "Do you believe?" And he's like, "Yes, I believe, but
But
also help my unbelief."
that part,
And I think that's the place where God meets us at, right at that place.
yeah,
Because a lot of times when we're asking God for big things,
yeah,
we believe, but we also see how big that thing is. And so that doubt is just right there. It's always like right there.
will be
And it's like,
surface.
yeah, I know you want that, but what if da 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 da, fill in the blank.
Yeah,
And I think it's an appropriate prayer to pray. It's short and sweet and to the point. Lord, I need this thing. I need to do this thing. I need healing in this area, but I have a lot of junk under my bed.
yeah,
But God, help my unbelief. Because I think there's something to be said about the belief part of it.
hmm,
I mean, if you really look at Christianity and your relationship with Christ, you have to believe that what he did on the cross, you have to believe in the finished work of the cross. You have to accept that Jesus died on a cross for our sin, for your sin, for my sin,
that part,
right?
that part.
And you have to believe that he rose again in 3 days for you.
But do some of us really believe that? I think some of us who have I don't want to say self-image problem or whatever you want to call it, lack of belief. I think some of us believe that Jesus died for you,
Right.
but
But your
you,
stuff is too dirty,
that part.
because that was me.
Yeah.
That was me in 2018ish.
Mhm.
2018, I was at a worship conference and the Lord began to unearth some
Yeah.
junk that I consciously had suppressed down. I
Yeah.
didn't want to deal with it because number one, it was just a lot.
Yeah.
It was team too much. It was giving
Yeah.
too much. I don't got the time. Get somebody else to do it. And
Yeah.
I kept circling this particular issue within myself, this trauma, but also I was reserving.
Mm.
I was reserving the anger that I had behind what was done to me. And I did not want to surrender it to the Lord, because surrendering it to the Lord meant the person that I was mad at gets away scot free. And I'm just left with the rubble of the pain and the bruises and the wounds and the everything. And I'm getting the raw end of the stick. So I was like, no, you can't have that. I'll trust you in here, 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 here. But Lord, you cannot go in that room.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
First of all, who did I think that I was, that I'm telling God
Yeah.
where he can and cannot go in the vessel that he created?
That part.
I had a whole Job moment, because Tamara, were you there when I created the world? Were you there? Where you weren't even conscious of when I was knitting you in your mother's womb. And you're going
Nope.
to tell me that I cannot go in this particular room of your heart, chamber of your heart? Why?
Yeah.
And my answer was, Lord, I can't give you that. It's too dirty.
Mm. Yeah.
And he said to me, if you can't give me that because you think it's too dirty, then why did I send my son?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And I said, oh, my dear Lord, I'm sorry. And he's like, look, you don't get to pick and choose what shrapnel of life to give me. I want it all.
Yeah.
You don't get to tell me what parts of you that are broken and sick and seeping and stanking and leaking everywhere. It's leaking onto everything. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's leaking onto your children. It's leaking into your marriage. It's leaking into the way that you see yourself. It's leaking into what you believe about yourself, but also what you believe about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I said give it to me, I wasn't saying give me all the parts that you have deemed acceptable for me to turn over to you. I want it all, good, right, wrong, bad, different, indifferent, ugly, nasty, stinking, smell like perfume. I want it all.
Yeah.
And I had to give it all. And it hurt only for a little while though. Because that turning over and releasing, because you're gotten so accustomed to holding on to that thing. Now it becomes a part of your identity, and now the question is, well, who am I independent of this thing that happened to me over here? Because I became very accustomed to my junk. And this is where you will see those people in the episode of Hoarders.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're that way with our junk, with the Lord. We're the ones that called him and said, Lord, I need help cleaning. They're the ones that called the show. I need help to clean out my house. I can't live like this anymore. And then as soon as the experts come in to start cleaning, they're like, no, you can't have that. I have an attachment to, no, you can't have that because no, so-and-so gave me this. And yes, I know that was 55,000 years ago, but no, look, it is still good. It smells good. It's still, you can still.
Yeah.
And we do that with our junk because we do have the belief of, sometimes, some of us, not all of us, God, I can't give you that. It's too dirty. I can't give you my rags. I can't give you. But that's the very thing that he's asking us for.
It's things that he wants. It's the stuff that we don't want to give away.
But here's this. We started the top of the show with a gift card that you didn't know was hiding up under all of that junk, right? And then
Yep.
here you have the those of us who are hoarding our pain. We're hoarding our traumas because we don't know who we are outside of them. And yes,
Yeah.
we want to make it better. We want to make life better for us and for our children. But who are we outside of this? And we don't understand that when God asks us to surrender the junk that we think is too dirty for him, and he's like, but don't you know I'm trying to give you my righteousness?
Right.
I'm giving you a robe of righteousness. That is the gift.
Yes.
That's the gift. His righteousness.
Yeah. Yep.
So yes, I want the filthy rags. Yes, I want you to clean out clean out the closets, the cupboards, under the bed, every nook and cranny, clean it out because I have something better to give you. And so it starts with, yes, forgive yourself for not being what they needed. I wasn't always what my children needed, and they let me know it too.
So that you have
Yeah,
it.
just in this week. All right, so I got another story.
Mm.
I tell you out of the mouth of babes. Noelle is 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
I got it in my head that I want to take a stab at homeschooling because we're kind of on the fence. Are we going to homeschool? Are we not going to homeschool?
Right.
And so I brought some workbooks to work with her on, writing her letters and her numbers and learning how to cut with scissors,
Yeah.
basic skills, fine motor skills, and all of that stuff. I was so excited. She was so excited. We sit down, I start teaching her, and then immediately it's the power struggle because no, Noelle, hold the scissors like this. She want to hold the scissors like this and cut like this. And I'm like, no, turn your hand. And she's like, and we're fighting now over the scissors. And then her little 3.5-year-old self goes, I want daddy.
Wow.
So when I was on your show, the Knight and Craig show, I talked about my pinky toe corns being mashed.
Wow.
That would be one of the times, the upper and the lower, because
Wow.
It's two of them on there.
Mm,
Um, Not only did she mash the pinky toe corns, but she broke my heart. My
mm,
heart was broken because what I felt in that moment was rejection
mm.
from my own child. I was like, she does not want me. She
Yeah,
prefers her dad.
yeah,
And I needed a minute.
yeah.
I'm like, how is this possible? She's 3.5 years old. What do you mean you want your daddy? I was like, well, your dad is not here. He's working in the office and you all you got is me. And she was like, well, I don't want you.
Wow.
And I said, oh my gosh. Yeah, so I'm going into the office to your daddy, go on and go, because I need a I need a minute.
Wow.
And I had to have a real hard look at, okay, what went wrong in that moment, Tamara? Where did you mess up? And a lot of these shows now, there's one of her favorite shows is Alma's Way on PBS. And
Okay.
Alma is this little girl and she loves her family and she's, vivacious and curious and she does all these different things. But at some point in the show, Alma does something that somebody else doesn't like and she can't understand what she did wrong. So she has to play in her mind the playback reel of what did I do? How did I
Right.
get here? And so
Right.
I had to have an Alma moment where I'm like, okay, where did I mess up with
Right.
this process? Because I mean, we just cutting paper, like it's not that hard. And I realized that I was controlling the moment. I was making it about her doing it my way, as opposed to her being curious about how scissors work and that it doesn't cut this way. You have to turn your. She would have gotten there eventually had I left her alone.
Sure.
But I kept turning her hand for her. No, do it this way. No, do it this. And the more frustrated I got, the more frustrated she got, and she didn't want to do the lesson anymore.
Mm.
And now my feelings are hurt because she's letting me know I don't want you. I want daddy because daddy is more patient. And mommy, you're not being patient. So we're not always giving our children what they need in the moment.
No.
And that's okay. So, like, if I didn't have the emotional intelligence and the awareness that I have now today, had this happened when I was a newer mom, like back with Olivia, it would
Right.
have ruined our entire day. I would not have known to take a step back and go to your corners and take a breather. Feel your feelings, Tamara, but they're not facts.
Right.
She doesn't hate you. She's just telling you in her little limited vocabulary, I don't like the way you're teaching me right now. Can we try a different approach? But she doesn't have the language to
Right.
tell me that. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to forgive yourself for the moments where you don't have what your child needs in that moment. I'm sure you have had those moments as well as a father where your child is trying to communicate something to you. And because they don't have the language to get around the emotion to describe what they're feeling, so they are just cut straight to the point, to the white meat.
To the white meat. And it just happened because when
Yeah.
Evan, I was sharing with you that Evan was texting me about coming to this event. Come,
Mm-hmm.
don't come. Come, don't come. Don't worry about it. Yeah, yeah, come. And they come to this time. No, no, no. Don't come that time. Come to this time. No, no, no. Come to this time. I was sitting there, it finally clicked. It must be something to this event that he really wanted me to see, to be a part of with
Right.
him. So I didn't want to go because I had something I was already doing. But the Lord worked it out where I was able to put that down, get other people to cover for me, and then go there with him. And then after it was over, it was more about me spending time because he was homesick. And I was like, I told him, I said, but son, I've only been gone a matter of hours because I just
Yeah.
left you here yesterday. And so he says, but dad, it was just the quiet here that really began to
Yeah.
allow me to think about what I had lost or didn't have. The loss wasn't where it was because I said, but son, you help me. I said, you're normally in your room anyway, with your headphones on, gaming and yelling at the console, and there's all this noise. Sometimes I'm have to come and call you or text you or go to the room and say, shut that stuff down. It's too loud. He says, yeah, but I always could hear other noises in the house. It wasn't just me. And
Right.
now it's just me. And I was like, okay, I get it. So it went, I had to then shift from and pivot from just going into this event, sit here for the hour, and get back to work to, hey, I want to show you this place on campus. And I want to show you this place on campus. And we went to walking his campus because he needed me. I had to be the parent that he needed me to be,
Yes.
which was present with him in that moment. So he
Yes.
didn't feel like he was all alone
All alone. Yeah. Because
versus,
his whole world is shifting now.
oh, yeah.
He's pivoting,
Oh,
but he
yeah.
still needed dad to help him in the pivot
Yeah.
and kind of say, okay, son, I'll guide you from here. You remember when teaching them how to ride a bike
Oh,
and
yeah.
how you stand over them? And at first you're literally holding them up on the bike for them because they don't know to engage their core muscles. They don't understand the balancing of it all. So you kind of have to hold them steady.
Yeah.
You're still going to have to do that
Even
as
now.
they get older. It just looks differently. It looks like you showing up on his campus and
Right.
spending that time with him that he needed. And that goes into our last point, which is asking your children what you're doing right
Yeah.
and what you're getting wrong and what they need, and allowing them to be a part of their experience because they're the ones that are experiencing us. And we talked a lot last video about our lived experiences as children and what our parents were not able to give us, and we also talked about what we're now able to do for our children as a result of cleaning up our junk,
Yep.
surrendering our junk to the Lord, getting all of those cobwebs cleaned out so that we can present to our children a different option and we can break the cycle.
Sure. Yeah. I
And
love
Evan did that for you.
And I love that because if once we do that shifting, the shift in some cases is not always for us.
Yeah. Ooh, I like
It's really
that.
sometimes for our kids or for our spouse or some other
Yes.
loved one that for our because our relationship is already being stretched anyway.
Hmm.
It's either gonna shift and shatter or it's gonna shift and stretch. And now it takes on a no whole totally new shape and a whole new aspect that we never knew. Evan tells
Yes.
me I'm kind of we're coming back from the store doing a little supply run for him for his room, and he was like, oh dad, thank you for going with me to get in the door. And I was like,
Hmm.
you didn't think I was coming? Well, no, but I see the stuff on TV and then movies where the kids move into college and you see the whole families be there, and it's just different for me because I'm actually doing it. And
Mm.
like, I get it, but you still got to believe that I'm available to you, whether
Right.
you're across the street 22 minutes or whatever, or across the planet. Imagine if this kid was in Boise right now, where
Right.
he really claimed and spoke with his mouth that he wanted to be. There's no driving across town 22 minutes.
No.
That's an airplane ride. That's some cost of whatever. That's a plan. He asked me on my way out. I think he asked me when I was with him at least 3 times, if not 4. What'd you do last night? What you gonna do today? How was your day? I'm like, I told him each of the times he asked me the same 3 questions over. And I
That
said,
joker is missing you.
man. So when I pull, I'm going to take him back from the campus. I said, well, I'm going to leave. I can drop you off the door across the street, or did you want to walk? No, you can drop me. So what you going to do today? Did you get this done? I'm like, okay, this is question number 3. I said, well, remember, I haven't had much time. I dropped you. I went home, sat with the dogs, took a
Mhm.
nap, went to the football game, then I got up for support work this morning, and then I came here.
Yeah.
Remember? I haven't had any time.
Yeah.
Oh, oh yeah, you're right. You're right. I said, what was you gonna do when you go home? Well, I've got a 3 o'clock meeting. I've got a 4:30 meeting, and then I'm gonna make some dinner. Oh, what you making? I'm gonna make beef and turkey meatloaf and some rice.
I'm making
Oh,
meatloaf today too.
see, well, he gonna come to your house too. He said, I'm gonna take a Lyft or an Uber and come and get some of your food. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I'm like, bro, you haven't even been gone away from us a full 24 hour. But that's what he needs. So if I were
Yes.
to make some meatloaf tonight and either go get him and have him come in here and eat, or bring him a plate, he would be super excited. And the sad part is,
Absolutely.
I don't even think he likes meatloaf.
No. He
But
just wants to know, are you still there?
yeah,
Just like when you finally let them go off of that bicycle,
yeah,
they're still going to look over to see you watching me. You still,
yeah,
are you still there?
yeah.
Look, dad, look, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Look, dad. So it's like, this is so beautiful.
You know, what's funny you say that because I have a real odd thing when I walk with people. If I see something, someone like, oh, squirrel, I want to, I'll walk, and sometimes I'll come up on the other side of the person because I've seen something that's, we're sightseeing, we're enjoying the
Mhm.
campus. I was like, oh, I want to go say, hey, go check this out. So he said on more than one occasion, saying, dude, you're walking next to me. Next thing I look around and you're gone, and somehow you're on behind me, and then you're coming up on the other side. I don't even know where you are.
Right.
I'm like, but here's the thing. It's time for you to lead your life. You don't have to follow me anymore.
Mm.
You've got to look out front. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, but I'm busy. We were sightseeing. I'm doing stuff in my mind for my graphic arts and design class. And that's why one reason why I sent you that picture for your daughter, to
Yes.
that graphic,
Hmm.
and that was a room, a space in addition to all the other spaces to relax that the university has. This one
Mm.
was specifically for commuters. And we
Mm.
only went to that room because he thought when he read it off of a directory page, he
Hmm.
thought it said, real quick, he read it as computer lab
Mm.
or room.
That's how I read it too.
Oh, so that's funny
It's,
because it's a
I thought
commuter.
computers.
It's commuter, two M's, no P. So it's a
Oh,
space, and it's another reason why, if you look, when you get a chance to go back to us again, this is another story, a message it'll
yeah.
preach in itself. Sometimes we look at a blessing from God and we misread it because we're looking at it too fast in the perception of what we think it is. But that is
Yes.
in this particular blessing, it's a place where students like your daughter who are driving to campus from a distance away
Mm-hmm.
can even leave their cold lunches or cold products, in some cases even cold medicine, in those gray cold refrigerators, because in the
Oh, wow.
background of that picture, those
Mm-hmm.
were cold lockers where they were locked up
Ah,
individually, almost like a 10 by
now
20.
that makes sense. That makes, because I was like, why is Craig showing me a picture of a computer room? Like, I don't get it.
And it didn't have a single computer in it.
No, it did. That's the thing about it. I was like, computer room. In my mind, I'm thinking, oh, so you bring your laptop, you sit down, and
Mm-mm,
it's a quiet space for you to get work done.
mm-mm.
Aha! Look at there.
So the Lord's going to
So many
provide
lessons.
space for us, you know.
Yeah.
And like we talked about at the top of the show, right? We said our gift will make room for us, right? And where you and an interesting part is that we started the show with that, right? And we're finishing show with the back end of the verse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And bring us in the presence of great men or kings,
Mm.
right? So,
Mm.
and if we really spent time unpacking what the word there mean, okay, those are fancy churchy folks. The exegesis of that is
Right.
our gift is not the gift that we want to believe is the packaged. Well, I'm sorry, I say it this way. It's not our ability to sing or write or dance or do these podcasts. That's not
Right.
the gift. It's
Mm-hmm.
defined there as gift, as a present or gift that you would give to a king.
Mm.
So that gift that we are giving willingly to the
Yes.
king or a
Yes.
king, right, will make
Yes.
room for us. So,
Mm-hmm.
so if you give what you have on the inside, whether it be your gift or your time, your talent, whatever it is, if you give that to God or give it to
Yeah.
other people unselfishly without worrying about what the give back is, those gifts that you're giving to that king or queen in that moment will make room for you either in their heart or in the situation or somewhere down the
Mm-hmm.
line for you,
Yes. Yes.
and bring you in the presence of great men, great people, great individuals who may have seen that gift that you gave unselfishly and they may want to say, well, Tamara, why don't you come with me, because I saw what you did for so and so. So if we would do those things and believe it, we would
That
be
part.
so great.
That part.
But
That
even
part.
great is
Yeah.
relative. Great
Yeah.
is not kingly, great is not rich. Great could
Yes.
just be peaceful, having the Lord
Yes.
continue to meet the need we have right now.
Yeah. Great could be your child wanting to spend time with you. Post you dropping them off to college, they're like, yes, I chose this. Yes, I wanted to leave, but I miss you. And me leaving doesn't mean that I no longer want you in my life. It just means I want to go explore over here, but I still want to know that you're still around in my
Correct.
atmosphere. That if I need you, if I call you, you will come.
Yeah. Like you said though, what came to mind was I want to go explore over here,
Yeah.
but I need to make
Hmm.
sure that you're still over there.
Yes. A hundred
And that,
percent.
and that's so oftentimes that we don't allow our children to go and explore and understand that we're still here, because some of us go there with them. When they're going here, we go there, and there's never any separation between
Yeah.
us. I know parents, right? I know some
Hmm.
it's one family, if they watch it, Duxbury, I'm gonna get you on this one. If he dropped his son off yesterday midday at his school to move in, he and his wife stayed overnight and didn't come back till today. So I sent him a text message back on that group chat we were on. I said, "Bro, you're not supposed to go to the party to the college and party with you and your wife and your son. You're supposed to let them go to the party and you come on home."
Right.
And some of us, I know parents that have uplifted them and uprooted themselves from state to state following their kids,
Yeah.
and their kids never get a chance to stand on their own. And I don't know the
Yeah.
situation. Every situation is different.
Right.
Someone required, help, assist. Who knows? But if the reason for the moving isn't isn't in the child's best interest to allow them to stand on their own and be constantly, you use the term at the top, codependent. If you don't
Hmm.
ever break that codependency from that child's life, from your life, that
Yeah.
soul tie that you're creating with your child is gonna damage them and you, because they'll never be able to stand on their own, especially when you're gone.
Or they have to fight for it like I did.
Yeah,
And then that takes on a whole other topic of
rejection.
when you have to fight for your independence
Yeah,
to the exclusion of your parent because they don't understand the boundary that you're trying to set now and they don't respect it either. And it
correct.
forces you to go non communicado
Hmm.
because that's the only way that you're going to find your peace. That's the only way that you're going to find your freedom to go and explore. But the guilt on the backside of making that decision, because everyone else around you in your community is going to say that you are wrong,
Yeah, yeah,
that you are not a good child for having done that. Ask me how I know. They're going to make you feel bad for making that decision. Well, that's, you only get one mother. How could you do that? How could you do that? And it's like, but do you understand that I am suffocating
yeah,
because the codependency is so toxic and it's handicapping me that I feel like I cannot make a decision without her input. And I
yeah.
better make the one that she would have chosen.
See,
That's a whole other topic for a different day.
it almost makes me, with the analogy that the Lord gave when you were saying that, it's almost like some folks are so close to their children, or some folks are so close to their spouses or whatever, that if the other person inhales, you exhale, because
Yes.
you're trying to breathe as one person. And
Yes.
you're not one person. Yeah, in a marriage relationship, yes, two become one, but both people have to breathe.
Yeah.
You know, and with
And
our
trust me,
children,
I've tried it. I've tried to actually breathe at the same rate as my husband. Like sometimes I'm an
you'll
early riser. So
you'll pass out.
I get up before him and I'm laying there in the bed and I'm like, let me see if I can match his
Mm,
breaths.
you'll pass out.
Impossible.
Mm-mm.
Impossible. We don't have the same lung capacity.
You will pass out.
Okay. I was hyperventilating.
What I'm trying to do
I
for
was
some
like,
kids.
this is uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't. I have to go to my own rhythm. That's not my rhythm. I couldn't go to my mom's rhythm. She wanted me to
Mm-mm. Can't.
because it's what
It's not
made
your job.
her feel better. Hmm?
But it's not your job.
It's
You got to
not
be
my job.
Tamara. She got
I
to be.
have to be Tamara, right? And it was not my job to regulate her emotions and regulate her life and regulate everything. And I think that's part of why my pulling away from her was so painful because she created a little bubble for herself where her children were the things that regulated her. She didn't know who she was outside of MOTHER period to
Period.
her own detriment.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't want to do that to my children. So
no,
I am a hands-on mom
yeah,
and parent, but I rely on the Holy Spirit to tell me when to take my hands off. And let me tell you something, when you bring God into the equation and the Holy Spirit into the equation of, Lord, please help me and teach me and show me, and the Holy Spirit whispers in your ear, leave that child alone, let
yeah,
them fall, let them fail, let them.
yeah. You have
I'm
to.
going to close with this. I heard a quote from, I believe it's Dr. Brene Brown. I believe it was her who said it. And it's the idea of let them. When people hurt your feelings, let them.
Mm,
When people leave your life, let them. It's the power of let them.
yeah,
Let them. Because I don't remember what the end part of it was, but I'm paraphrasing very loosely. At the end of you letting them, you're going to find you.
yeah.
You're going to have to make a decision of what your life is going to be without them or with them or whatever the thing it is that they're doing or not doing. Let them.
Yeah.
So in that same spirit, when your children are telling you what they need, it come on somebody, they're not always being disrespectful. Let me just say that to the parents who live under the auspice of, oh, don't you run your mouth to me, da 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 da, you rude, you're disrespectful. Could you consider a different vantage point that maybe they're not being disrespectful? Maybe they're trying to tell you with the limited vocabulary and life experience that they have. Because you have to remember, you have to meet them where they are. So if they're 3, you're understanding them at 3. If they're 10, you're understanding them at 10. If they're 17, you're understanding them at 17.
Yeah.
Could it possibly be that they're not mouthing off to you, but they are trying to tell you what it is that they need from you, desperately trying to tell you what they need from you in that moment? It
That moment.
is your job as the parent to fall back, assess yourself. You check yourself.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm giving you the business and the attitude. Why? Because this is where children feel unheard, unseen, unprotected, unloved, uncared for, and rejected.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Facts.
Don't do
Facts.
that to your child. They're trying to communicate with you, but they don't have the language to tell you exactly where it hurts. So you have to slow yourself down, slow the script in your head that's going, fight against your natural bent towards, oh, this is disrespectful. Consider another option. Consider that that baby is trying to tell you, mommy, I do respect you. Dad, I do respect you, but I need this right now. But they don't have enough vocabulary to express that. So please take it from a mom who has been on the receiving end of that conversation. Save yourself the tears,
Yeah. That part.
apologize,
That part.
Don't be so prideful that you can't apologize to your children. That's really where it starts. If you really want to get it in with your child, just say you're sorry.
Yeah.
It's not about right or wrong. If
No.
you know that they've been hurt and there's a wound in a specific area and you can fix it with a heartfelt, let me just say that, apology,
Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah.
That will take you so far because then that disarms them and it actually opens them up and allows you to hear where the boo boo is so you can kiss the boo boo. I tell my kids all the time, you got to tell mommy and daddy where it hurts. If you want me to kiss the boo boo, I got to know where it hurts. But that requires us as the parent to fall back and listen and stop always having to have the last word.
Yeah.
Let them speak. Let them.
The first or the last word.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got for the folks today. You got anything else, Craig?
Now I was in the process of adding your social here to the
Oh, you
banner.
forgot the a minute
Oh,
underscore,
my bad.
a
Thank you very
minute
much.
underscore with mom. There you go.
Was typing and I got to be fast finger, got to be quick with it. So those who watched it
Yeah,
there, and then
there
on
you go.
Facebook, it's a little bit it's the
Just a minute
actual
with mom.
spelled out version. A minute
Yes.
with mom. I'm gonna just have the capital W as I'm typing. This is real time, folks. That's how you do it sometimes.
This is real.
You're
Listen, we don't do anything rehearsed in these streets, okay? And that's on purpose. I hope you all understand that we're intentional about the way we show up because this is real life. And while we do like for things to be polished, I'm not going to give you a rehearsed version of a podcast. I'm going to give it to you raw because that's the only way that I know. So that means we're flawed. We're going to make mistakes sometimes. Don't charge it to our heads. Don't charge it to our hearts. Charge it to our heads, right? Because we're human and we make mistakes, and it's okay. Let us, let us. But
sorry.
we want to thank you for tuning in, Craig. I thank you so much for coming back for
No,
a second episode. And before you go, again, remind the people where we can find you. Of course, I'm going to have all of your information in the description box under this video, but can you tell the people where they can find everything that you do?
oh my goodness, appreciate it. We can definitely find it myself and my cousin, Dr. Michelle Knight at Knight and Craig, or the Knight and Craig Show on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me at Raising Men. That's RZNGMen, and that's the same on Instagram and Facebook. And if you're looking for something for apparel for your needs, promotional items, something that makes your look stand out, you can always find us at Carlisle Family Printing on Instagram. We're not on Facebook with that. And if you're looking for a website to purchase some of our gear already, some of our retail gear, it's on Carlisle Prints with a Z at the end.com.
Thank you so much. Well, guys, that is our time. That's all we have for you today. You know what to do. Tap into this conversation. I want to hear from you. I love chatting with you. And until the next one, know that you are loved. God loves you, and you have a blessed and wonderful day. Bye.